Hello everyone and welcome to your nutrition class on fats, fiber, and sodium. Oh my! I am Carrie Talent. I am a dietitian. I work at Bon Secours doing outpatient nutrition counseling, and I come here and teach some of the cardiac rehab nutrition classes which you are sitting for a recorded version. So today we are going to talk about fats, fiber, and sodium, obviously, hence the title. So, cholesterol. Let's look at the largest sources of dietary cholesterol from some of our foods. So, as you can see, liver is the highest, going all the way down to dairy products. And depending on the serving size, the milligrams of cholesterol obviously vary. So, these are foods we want to be mindful of. Now, as far as some of these things go, you're most likely not eating them every single day or multiple times a week, with the exception of possibly your whole eggs, your meat, fish, and poultry, and dairy products, which it's going to be very difficult to avoid a lot of dietary cholesterol. There are a lot of studies that are conflicting against eating a whole egg versus egg whites. I always tell people just go ahead and eat the whole egg. It's perfectly fine as long as you are eating very healthy otherwise and you're not pairing it with pork sausage and bacon and pancakes and all of those other foods that are going to also impact your cholesterol and other numbers negatively. As far as your squid and your shrimp go, let's look at maybe not getting them breaded and looking at broiled, boiled, steamed, not soaking in butter, those types of ways. So it's looking at the foods you like to eat in healthier ways of eating them. Okay, so the best bets to limit dietary cholesterol are to limit animal meats to 0 to 2 times per day, totaling 6 to 8 ounces per day. Now I understand some of you are probably looking at that like, heck no, that's not going to happen. I completely understand. So this is just certain tips on how to do it. I eat animal meats or eggs or whatever at every single meal. It's just choosing the leaner choices and being smart about what else you are eating with those meats. Limit whole eggs to 1 per day. If you want to err on the side of caution and you like to have eggs for breakfast every day or a snack, then 2 egg whites equal 1 whole egg. So pairing 1 whole egg with 2 egg whites gets you a total of 2 eggs as far as the serving size and protein balance goes. Choosing low to no fat dairy products, I would say 2% dairy and lower is better, but we're going to talk about that in the next couple slides. Make your plate mostly plants, so whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds. You're going to see this a lot, especially if you've had the previous class. If not, guess what? It's coming. Include several completely plant-based meals per week. Even if you include 1 completely plant-based meal per week, that's a good start. So it's really tough, and we have to look at it from a realistic lifestyle change perspective. You've eaten one way for so many years. We're trying to start healthy changes. You are here because something significant happened from a health perspective, and we want to try to prevent that from happening again. And the best way we can do that is through diet and exercise, rehabilitation, and everything that comes along with that. So, making 1 step or 1 change at a time gets you that much closer to being overall healthy. Next, we're going to talk about the differences between fats because they are not all equal except in calories. So your saturated and trans fats are going to be your unhealthy fats. They're solid or firm at room temperature. And then we have your healthy fats, which are your polyunsaturated and monounsaturated. These are liquid at room temperature. So we want to reduce sources of saturated fat. This is actually quite important. When we think saturated, it sounds heavy and sticky and thick, like what it does inside of our arteries. So we want to avoid things like meat fat. So The meats with a lot of marbling in it. I know that's disappointing for some of you to hear, but choosing your tenderloins, your loin cuts, your round cuts, so sirloin, tenderloin, London broil if you're going to do a large roast, filet, those types of things. Your poultry skin has a lot of saturated fat, so buying skinless meats, even if you cook it with the skin on it, that saturated fat can still absorb into the meat you're going to eat. So a lot of times people have an issue when they either go to a church cookout or something like that. It's often fried chicken. You know what? Sometimes you got to do whatever is the healthiest option. So, okay, that's what you have served. Remove the skin. So it's not going to give you as much saturated fat as if you were to eat the skin, but there is still going to be a little bit that gets in there. So whole milk dairy products also have saturated fat. Butter, coconut, tropical oils like coconut oil, palm kernel oil. These are plant-based saturated fats, but they are still saturated fats. So, grams of fat in 1 cup of your various dairy type products. So, heavy cream obviously being the highest versus skim milk, which is the lowest. Again, staying at 2% or lower is going to be your best bet. Avoid sources of trans fat. Trans fat is just not good at all. There's actually only harmful effects that can come from these. You will know if it has trans fat in it if it says hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated in the ingredients list. So it's found in some margarines, especially your stick margarines. It helps keep that shape of a stick. Most store-bought cookies, pastries, and crackers, unfortunately, yes, those have trans fat. It is better if you are going to indulge to get something that is homemade. Some cereals and soups also have it because it's used as a way to maintain a longer shelf life without having it go rancid faster. Deep fried foods. Most deep fat fryers use trans fat. So your meats, your potatoes, and donuts. Now, looking at various restaurants, because I realize everyone goes out to eat. Chick-fil-A is one restaurant that did make an initiative to change from trans fat, so they now use peanut oil in their fryers. So unless you have a peanut allergy, they use peanut oil, which is an unsaturated fat. Now, there is still a lot of sodium and there is still fat in those foods, so you need to use caution. It is still better to go for your grilled versions of poultry or meats in general. So, these are some claims that you may have heard. Saturated fat is not associated with heart disease. The truth is there is ample scientific evidence showing that saturated fat is associated with risk. So, simply reducing the saturated fat, though, isn't going to be the thing that cures everything. It depends on what you're replacing that saturated fat with. So, refined carbohydrates like crackers and white bread or fat-free sweets, these don't reduce your risk for cardiovascular disease or anything like that. They actually increase your risk to be insulin resistant or further diabetes or obesity. So your polyunsaturated fats, so your nuts and your fish and seeds, those things, they reduce your risk. Your monounsaturated fats, such as olive oil, peanut butter, almond butter, so the natural versions, those reduce risk. Whole grains, fruits, and vegetables also reduce risk. So, the AHA recommends a low-fat diet. They do not, actually. They discuss a healthy dietary pattern, which the other nutrition class you receive, if you have not already, discusses in depth the healthy dietary patterns. So, moderate fat diet is actually the way to go because we're looking at using more healthy fats. So, saturated and trans fat should be replaced with healthier fats, which we talked about the poly and monos, as well as your whole grains, nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables. So the more important thing to remember is the overall dietary picture. So everything you're eating, not just one particular food source that you're looking at. So your entire plate, to include your beverages. So they are just one piece of the puzzle, the saturated fats that is. You can't go wrong eating more fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and fewer calories. It's all about balance and portion control. So this is a little joke because avocados are healthy fats, so everyone can chuckle. Corny joke. So unsaturated fat sources. So olive and canola oil, your seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, sunflower, pumpkin, and sesame seeds. Nuts, all of your nuts, but keep in mind these are healthy fats. They still have high calories, so we're looking at a handful as a serving size, not just mindlessly eating mixed nuts or almonds. Avoid the salted, which I know is a very big favorite. Smoked or salted has high sodium content. Avocados or guacamole, which is made from avocado. Fatty fish. So here's a nice list of salmon, mackerel, blue tuna steaks, fresh herring, sardines, and trout. Soy products, so tofu and tempeh. I know everyone's going to run out of here and go and get themselves some tofu. But there's also soybeans or edamame. You can get the little frozen steamer bags of those, and those make for a nice snack. Natural nut butters, which we've talked about, nut butters, the almond and peanut. Sources of monounsaturated fats. These are all of your oils and your nut butters. So you have different polyunsaturated fats. So there's omega-6 and omega-3. Omega-6 is not necessarily needed as much as the omega-3, but if you are doing the fish oil pills, that also does help. Well, I always suggest to people to get less of that burping up of fishy taste. Freeze the fish oil pills. If you keep them in the freezer, then you won't burp up as much of that fishy taste. So omega-3 fatty acids, the benefits are anti-clotting effects. They help lower your triglycerides. So triglycerides can be elevated not just from saturated fats, but also from simple carbohydrates. So beer, alcohol, sweets, like cereal, sugary cereals, croissants, biscuits, those types of things, danishes, pastries. As well as your sugar-sweetened beverages, so sweet tea, juice drinks, sports drinks, energy drinks, those types of things. So they can also, omega-3 fatty acids can also improve your immunity and skin and your mood. So we're looking at about 2 servings of omega-rich fish per week, and you may need supplements, which would be the fish oil pills. Fiber. This is really important as well. There is a section or a page in your books in section 4. If you go right past the nutrition label page, the next page talks about why you need fiber in your diet. So they're soluble and insoluble, but both of them help prevent gastrointestinal conditions such as diverticulitis, constipation, colon cancer. They promote satiety, so that feeling of fullness. They can decrease your serum cholesterol and improve blood sugar control. So that fiber prevents that simple sugar from just spiking your blood sugar right away. So we want to take between 20 to 35 grams of fiber per day, and that is with water as well, because if you don't drink enough water and you increase your fiber, you will end up constipated. So make sure that you're having a happy balance. So fruits and vegetables, not the juices. So eating the skins on your fruits and vegetables. So beans, nuts, seeds, whole grains. There's also a list of your soluble and insoluble fibers in your book in section 4. So insoluble fiber and soluble fiber also listed on this slide. I got ahead of myself. So whole grains, 100% whole. So a lot of people ask me, what's the difference between eating regular white bread, which is refined, and whole grains? Why is it such a big deal? When you eat just regular white bread, they've refined the endosperm, the bran, sometimes even the germ gets reduced down to not much of anything, and then they refortify or enrich the grain back with certain vitamins and minerals. Well, when they refine it, they remove all of these wonderful nutrients that naturally occur within that whole grain. So as you can see, each section, the endosperm, the bran, and the germ, all provide different vitamins, minerals, things like that. So whole wheat versus wheat bread. So we have your 100% whole wheat by Nature's Own and your honey wheat bread by Nature's Own. If we compare the nutrition facts, there is a little bit of difference between the sugars and the fiber and even the calories per one slice. But also we want to look at the ingredients and what's highlighted. With the 100% whole wheat, you are getting stone ground whole wheat flour. With the honey wheat, you're getting unbleached enriched flour. So basically they take that grain, they refine things out of it, and listed in parentheses is everything that they've refortified it with. Well, guess what? A lot of that stuff is already in it. They just took it all out. So don't ask me why they do that. I don't know. So fruits and vegetables, you want to eat a variety of colors, so paint your plate a rainbow. A lot of people think fruits and vegetables, especially vegetables, needs to be green. Green is very important. You get a lot of health benefits, but there's also plenty of other colors. So we have red, we have purple, we have white, orange, a bunch of blue, a bunch of different colors. So make sure that you're getting yourself a nice variety. Try something new each week. Now this is another comparison of looking at limiting or reducing added sugars. If you compare 100% orange juice to Sunny D Original, you'll look at the ingredients list. For 100% orange juice, it's one thing, natural orange juice. Sunny D, look at all that extra junk. And some of the stuff, it's like at the bottom, sodium hexametphate. I don't even know what that is. You have yellow number 5 and yellow number 6. What are yellow number 1 through 4? Who knows? So looking at least if you're going to do juice, try to choose 100%. I always tell people who have blood sugar or pre-diabetes, diabetes, be very, very cautious with juice. It should just be used more of an emergency food. If you're having a blood sugar drop, you take about 4 ounces, maybe 6, wait about 15 minutes, and it should bring your blood sugars back up to where it needs to be. So read and compare your labels to limit and reduce sodium. So dietary minimum requirement is 500 milligrams per day. That is the absolute minimum amount of salt that you need to consume in a day so that your body still functions appropriately. Some people are told they need to reduce salt, so they eliminate it completely, and then they start having muscle cramping and other issues. Well, that's because your body still needs a little bit of salt. So you don't want to minimize it too much. Recommended for best health is 1,500 milligrams or less. The average U.S. intake is 4,500 milligrams. I say as long as you're staying between 1,500 and 2,300 milligrams per day, that's very realistic and reasonable based off of not having to be completely inundated with numbers and tracking your sodium intake. So we want to avoid restaurants, packaged foods. These all contribute to a lot of that over consumption of sodium, along with your canned products, deli meat, ready-to-eat foods, so your freezer meals, condiments, and breads. They're definitely sodium hotspots. If you're going to do deli meat, I always tell people go directly to the deli and have them slice it for you. Sometimes they have less not so great additives in that compared to the stuff that's like the Tyson pre-sliced stuff in the refrigerator case. Here's a nutrition facts label. If you look in section 4 of your books, there is a nutrition facts label as well with a really nice breakdown of explaining how to read it and what you're looking for, as well as food label terms. On this one, a lot of people immediately hone in on the sodium content. It's ridiculous. So we want to definitely try to aim for products that have 140 to 300 milligrams of sodium. That's usually pretty safe. But when we look at our nutrition facts, we actually want to start at the top and look at that serving size and how many servings are in that container. So for this product, the serving size is 1 cup, and there are 20 servings in this container. So if you were to eat more than 1 cup, so say you had 2 cups, you'd have to go down and look at the amount per serving, the calories, and all of the grams of different things, and double it, because all of that listed is for that 1 serving size. So in 1 cup, there's 530 calories, 35 grams of fat, 6 grams coming from saturated, 5 milligrams of cholesterol, 110 milligrams of sodium, 43 grams of carbs with its breakdown between the fiber and sugars, and 10 grams of protein. So looking at this, I would not buy this because it obviously does not look like it's the healthiest option. So I would maybe look at a different product that has better looking numbers. Now, for label reading, shopping, and nutrient tracking assistance, here are a few websites, and that also can be converted to an app for your smartphone if you have that. The Shopwell.com obviously helps with shopping. The Food UK helps with label reading. And then MyFitnessPal is a good app for nutrient tracking. You could also try Lose It. That's another good nutrient tracking app and website as well. Those are great as far as seeing your meal and total intake breakdown for each day. It gives you a little picture of a nutrition label. The only problem that I find is a lot of times they're pretty liberal with the carbohydrates, which can be challenging for someone who's trying to be mindful of that. So I always tell people to edit it so that you're not really getting more than 40% of your calories from carbohydrates, and then adjust your fat and your protein accordingly. But that, my friends, is the end of this class. Thank you all for coming and being a part of this program. I hope that you learned a little something today from this.